Quiet as a mouse, I snuck up behind them and hit them both as hard as I could in the knees, disabling them from being able to run away, and then called the police and reported them. Within minutes, the police came and threw the pair into the back of their squad car and hauled them off to jail. So I want to start off by saying that I'm a very forgiving person, but everyone has their limits. And I want you to tell me if I went a bit too far in the end. To start off with, my name is Brad, and I met my wife Kathy many years ago. We were the kind of couple that constantly had to hold hands and truly did love each other. We had 2 sons soon after we were married, and we were over the moon with how blessed we were. The only problem was that Kathy's family despised me. I knew that the only reason that they hated me was because I'm black. Unfortunately, although Kathy was very progressive, her family was incredibly racist and would often say cruel things to me. Our children, though, took after my wife and had very, very light skin. So much so that they merely looked like they were very tanned. I can recall my mother-in-law approaching my wife soon after my youngest son was born.
Oh, Kathy, why on earth are you married to that monkey? Thankfully, both of the children he gave you look like us, but what happens if you have a black baby next time? What will people think?
I can't believe how ignorant you are, Mom. If people think that my children are ugly because of the color of their skin, then those people can go to hell. I suggest that you grow up, or else I'll make sure that you never see your grandchildren again.
I felt so much pride for my wife in that moment, and a great deal of disgust for my mother-in-law. My children were beautiful, regardless of what color their skin was. To me, this didn't matter at all, as I loved them regardless. But this made my in-laws overlook their heritage a bit. Honestly, it was a mixed blessing since I wanted them to know their extended family. Even if they were toxic racist people, family was always important to me. However, the worst thing that could ever happen did, and I lost my wife to an illness. When we had found out that she was sick and that she wouldn't recover, we made plans for everything so that when the time came, that it was all prepared. I knew that I would be a complete wreck when she passed away, and that I would need things planned out ahead of time, or else nothing would get done. When the day finally came, my sons and I were devastated, but thanks to planning things out, we managed to make it through the funeral more or less whole and complete. Thanks to my wife's life insurance policy, everything was paid for, and my sons' financial futures were secure no matter what they would want to do. The one saving grace was that Kathy's family was on their best behavior, and for the first time since I've known them, they treated me with respect. I had honestly thought that they had changed, and was angry that it took the death of my wife for them to finally change for the better. But it didn't last very long. A week after we had buried my wife, my in-laws and I gathered at my lawyer's office to hear the reading of her will. I already knew what was going to be said, and so it was no surprise when the lawyer announced that all of Kathy's life insurance money would go towards our boys. We had talked long about that decision, and since I made more than enough money at my job, I saw no point in the money being given to me. After all, it would help to ensure that our sons would not only be able to pay for their education, but it would give them a solid boost when it came to starting their lives after they finished school as well. It was Kathy's final gift to our sons. However, this was a bit of a shock to my in-laws. Are you serious? Do you mean to tell me that all that money is just going to this degenerate? No, sir. Their joint finances are going to be kept by Brad, but the life insurance money will go to their sons. It will be held in trust by myself until they are 18, at which time it will be given to them in installments over the course of a few years. The only money that Brad is getting was already his to begin with.
But what about the custody of the boys?
Well, they will remain under the care of their father. I'm confused. Why would there be any question of what would happen to them?
They can't be raised by this man. They'll end up in a gang or selling drugs. That's all his kind are good for.
I knew that I shouldn't be surprised, but I was taken aback by their words, especially since they thought that just because my wife had died, that my own sons wouldn't remain mine. The lawyer immediately kicked them out of the meeting and apologized to me, even though he had done nothing wrong, and I hoped that that was the end of it, but it wasn't. 2 weeks later, 3 police officers showed up at my house, and they looked as though they were going to break in. Are you Brad Cooper? Yes, I am. Is everything okay? We have reports that you're abusing your sons and forcing them to take drugs. I'm sorry, but what? No, sir. I would never do that. I love my sons.
May we come in and have a word with them?
Yes, of course. Please come with me. You can ask them whatever you need to. I led them into my home and they interviewed the boys for hours. Afterwards, they apologized as they had been led to believe that I had been a violent man and that I had been hurting the boys, which couldn't be further from the truth. I then asked who had filed the report against me, and they said that it had been anonymous. Although I knew all too well who it had probably been. My in-laws had no doubt had a hand in this nonsense. A week later, the police were back. This time, they apologized for the inconvenience, but they had received another anonymous tip about me abusing my sons, and they needed to follow up on it for their report. I knew that they were only doing their jobs, and so I let them in again. And just as before, they were satisfied that it had been a false claim. Angrily, I asked how many times they would keep hearing these false claims before they began to investigate who was making them. My sons don't understand why they keep having to answer these questions. They're worried that they will say the wrong thing and that you'll take them away to prison. Can't you do something about these false allegations? I can assure you that it's my in-laws that are making them. They want custody of my sons for some reason.
Rest assured, sir, that we are indeed investigating who made them, and once we do, they will face justice.
I wanted to believe him, but I was convinced, and so I reached out to my former brother-in-law, Derek. Aside from my wife, he was the only other person on my wife's side of the family that was a good person and wasn't racist. We had always gotten along very well. Derek, they are tormenting my kids with all these false allegations. Can you confirm that they are the ones making the calls? I wish I could help you, but I don't know for sure if it was them or not. However, I do know that they are really pissed off that your boys haven't been taken away from you. I did overhear that they would be taking matters into their own hands tonight. I don't know what that means, but if I were you, I would keep an eye out for them. And if you need anything, just let me know. Thank you for the heads up, Derek. I appreciate it. Knowing my in-laws, there was no telling what they might do, and so I grabbed a baseball bat and kept it in my bedroom just in case. Sure enough, that night, I woke up to the sound of footsteps downstairs. As quietly as I could, I grabbed my bat and crept to my son's room and saw that they were asleep in their beds. As soon as I saw that they were safe, I knew who had probably made the noise, and I then crept downstairs and found my in-laws skulking around. Quiet as a mouse, I snuck up behind them and hit them both as hard as I could in the knees, disabling them from being able to run away, and then called the police and reported them. Within minutes, the police came and threw the pair into the back of their squad car and hauled them off to jail. After their interrogation at the police station, I learned they had come to attack and kill me and kidnap my sons. They figured that they could eventually manipulate my sons into giving them their inheritance, and that once they had them, that with me being dead, that the rest of my wife and my belongings would go to our sons and therefore to them. It was so absurd and so stupid that they actually thought that the plan would work. The judge hearing their case was disgusted by their actions, and combined with the fact that the police had proven that they did indeed make the false allegations about my abusing my sons, the judge had no choice but to throw the book at them and sentence them to 20 years in prison each. Part of me felt bad that my sons would have to live with the knowledge that their own grandparents had tried to kill their father and kidnap them, but they deserved to know the truth, no matter how unpleasant it was. Between the loss of their mother and their grandparents' evil and terrible acts, we all needed years of therapy. But I'm happy to say that it has proven to be a blessing for us, as our relationship has never been stronger. And seeing them now, as both of them are nearing the end of their college careers, I can happily say that I am extremely proud of the men that they are becoming, and I know that my wife would be too. So, there you have it. Again, I'm usually a very forgiving man, but after what my in-laws tried to pull, surely you agree that I did the right thing. What do you think?